Hey guys, I'm being really lazy and I'm doing my intro video for the Elysium Rustic Barnwood sign on my couch. I've just finished editing all the videos and I thought, oh shoot, I do not have an intro video. So I just thought I'd whip out my phone, do the intro while I'm sitting on the couch doing the editing, so there's no excuse of not getting it up in time. So follow along and see how I did this. Now this was June's whiny workshop. I was inspired by Lisa from Sweet and Sassy. I'm pretty sure that's her name, so shout out to Lisa. I love her, I follow her, she's great. So follow along and see how I did it. Now, again, I'm lazy, I'm not great at videos. I'm just trying to be a bit more present with everybody. So enjoy. Okay, let's get started. We're going to take snow, pistachio and colonial to create the background of the sign. So taking the snow first, we're going to apply a thin even coat over the entire wood blank. And I also use my mister bottle to keep the paint moving to make sure that it's nice and thin. While the white paint is still wet, we're going to start bringing in the colonial and the pistachio. We're going to use the same brush as before, and we're going to start by blending the colonial to the top portion of the board. It's okay if you've still got the white paint left in your brush, because we are wanting to lighten that colonial up a bit and really start to blend it into that white. As you're adding the blue, it is absolutely okay to have light patches and dark patches within the paint. It just lends to the overall effect. And as you see, I'm just adding more blue to deepen colors in areas. I'm trying to bring it to about 2/3 down the board. I don't wash my brush out in between colors, but I do use a baby wipe to get excess paint out of the brush, as you'll see here now. Okay, so now taking the pistachio, the white paint is still wet and we're blending the pistachio into the wet white paint, and we're going to start brushing it up from the bottom. You'll see now that I'm slowly starting to blend those two colors together. I'm using a very light touch, and I also use my mister to help keep that paint moving. I find by blending these two colors together, if I have not much paint in my brush, they blend a lot better. So you'll see I just keep working that paint into the green paint into the blue paint, always coming from the bottom up, a bottom up motion, so a bottom to top motion. And I just keep using the same process, the same steps, to get the paint color, the background color, where I want it. So paint, mister bottle, and cleaning my brush with the baby wipe in between. And if I'm blending the blue into the green, I'm only using a downward motion, and if I'm blending the green into the blue, I'm using an upward motion. Once I'm happy with the blend, I make sure I go around the outside edges of the wood blank. I'll use blue in the top 2/3 and then green in the bottom third. For this next step, you are going to take the myrtle paint and we're going to create the drip effect coming up from the green. You want to make sure that your board is completely dry for this next step, because we'll be using wet paint and baby wipes to create the effect. Grab a smaller brush and your misting bottle or spray bottle, and we really want to water the paint down for this next step, because we want the paint to run down the board to create the drip effect. And I just use gravity and the side of my brush to create the drip effect. Now, if you want it less stark, more opaque, just add a bit more water with the spritz bottle. And then because this is dry, we can use a baby wipe to soften up some of the drip. So that's all the background painting steps done. What we're going to do now is just tidy up, and then we can come in with the transfer. So we're going to use the Elysium transfer. It's a 4-sheet transfer, and we're just going to use 1 sheet out of it. If you're doing this at home, it depends on what sheets you've got. So these 2 bottom sheets, they can go nicely up the top of the board in the blue. These 2 top sheets, you can have them coming up off the green, or if you wanted to, because they've got writing in them, you can cut the writing out and have them coming from the blue as well. It all just depends on which sheet of the transfer that you get. We're going to trim out what we don't need. Now you can also decide whether you want to use the whole sheet of the transfer and have it filling the whole sign. So you can definitely do it like that as well. Or you can do it the way that I'm going to do it and have it coming up from the corner or down from the corner. So these gridded lines make it perfect for lining it up. So I'm going to start trimming that off. Okay, so I'm going to position it where I want it to go, and then pop a bit of masking tape. Okay, a few things about transfers. What you want to do is make sure that the surface that you're putting it on is completely dry. If the paint's a little bit wet, what can happen is the transfer can come up and pull the paint up with it. So we want to make sure that the surface that we're painting on is completely dry. We also want to make sure that we lay it down where we want it. We don't want to shift it after we've laid it down, because it can already start to transfer over to the surface. So I put bits of masking tape there just to keep the top sheet exactly where I want it. And I try to avoid touching the adhesive backing of the transfer when I remove the backing sheet. So remove that. I lay it back down with my hands, smoothing from the center and then the outsides. Okay, then I'm going to take my applicator stick and I'm going to start rubbing. And if you hear the plastic do that, don't be alarmed, because that's just the air getting in between the transfer and the plastic backing. it's sort of what we, well, it's what we call catching the wave and making sure that it's all adhered down. So you can actually lift this up to see how you're going. If you find that something hasn't transferred, you just lay it back down and rub over the top of it again. Okay, so it's all transferred down. I then take the shiny side of the backing sheet and I go over the whole transfer to make sure that it's nice and adhered down and to burnish those edges. Because we've got the grooves here, we also want to come through, and I just use my applicator stick. You can also use your fingernail, and we're just breaking that transfer so that it can adhere into those grooves. So then I come with my finger and thumbs and really make sure that transfers nice and adhered down. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to seal that transfer in. What I didn't mention, if you're using a chalk style paint, you need to seal the paint first, then transfer, and then seal again. This is a silk, the Purico silk paint, so it's already got that inbuilt top coat, so I don't need to seal it first. I just can put the transfer on, but then I need to seal it afterwards. So you can seal transfers with a water-based top coat or a wax. Because we're painting the faux textures over the top of it, I always opt for a water-based top coat because with the wax, the paint might not stick to it. So now that that's dry, we can come through and we can do the fake or the faux wood effect, barnwood effect, whatever you want to call it. I just got a couple of palette knives here, and I'm just going to take little bits of paint and I'm going to build up like textures on the sides. So I've just got a bit of brown, and I might start here and just add a little bit there, and then you can come back over. This is the pistachio, and add a bit of pistachio in it, and that's the myrtle, and then that's just giving it the illusion that it's been rubbed back in those areas, and that's years and years of different paint. You can add bits of blue. The other thing you can do is if you grab your paint and smush it out and then lightly come through, it gives the illusion that you've sanded a little bit back there. And so we're just going to do that.
And also don't forget to do these little grooves where we've mimicking where we've put two planks together. And as I said, if you don't like something, you can always wipe it back with a baby wipe. One thing you want to do is keep them all going the same way to mimic that look of timber. Alrighty, I think I'm happy with that. I'm just going to let it dry and then put a hanger on the back and all good to go.
If you want to find any of the paint or products that I used today, please hit up the website www.signjacqueline.com.au.